evening and welcome to the regularly scheduled monthly meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals for the City of Birmingham. The BZA members are all volunteers and receive no compensation. We are appointed by the City Commission for staggered 3-year terms. Under state statutes, the BZA hears 3 types of appeals. We hear dimensional, use, and appeals of interpretations or rulings of building officials or other boards regarding any provision in the zoning ordinance. Tonight we have three-dimensional appeals. A dimensional appeal or non-use variance, including sign variances. The appellant must show practical difficulty complying with dimensional requirements of the ordinance. It requires 4 affirmative votes, and as I mentioned, all 3 tonight are dimensional. We do have a board of 6 members. Typically, we can have up to 7, so you need 4 out of 6 to receive your variance tonight. Our procedure is all comments are to be addressed to myself, the chair. Please wait to be recognized. City staff will then make a presentation regarding the appeal and take questions from board members. The appellant is then invited to come up and present their case. Only one person is allowed to speak on behalf of any appeal. I can grant exceptions if there's an architect or there is a engineer and it's impactful and we can look at that on a case-by-case basis. Members of the public are then invited to come forward by Zoom or in person, identify themselves, and provide their comments to the board. The hearing is then closed. Motion for the board members are then entertained and acted upon. In all cases, this is not a popularity contest. Granting or denying a variance is based substantially on the appellant meeting their burden of proof. Can we please call the roll of the board members?
Eric Morgenroth.
Here.
Jason Canvasser. Kevin Hart.
Here.
Carl Cole.
Here.
Bridget Lilly. John Miller.
Here.
Ron Reddy.
Here.
Donald Rogers. Susan Shackett.
Everyone going to call?
No, I don't think she did.
We have a new member. She's an alternate and she's here tonight.
What was your name?
Victoria Polachicchio.
Okay, great. I will take that down.
By the way,
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you.
I was going to mention it at the end of the meeting, but since it came up. So we have a new board member. She's an alternate, and Victoria's here today. She's an attorney, and she was in front of our board last month or the month before for a variance. So
Yes.
welcome.
Thank you.
Sure. I'll call the roll of the appellants. Do we have someone here for Appeal 2602 for Lincoln? Thank you, sir. Do we have someone here for 2607 on the Willets? Thank you. And do we have someone here for Appeal 2609 for Latham? Perfect. I see we have 2 correspondents for the board. Is there anything else we didn't get?
No, everybody got everything.
And the appellants got copies of these?
Yeah.
Oh, very good. Board members, before you are the last meeting notes from our regularly scheduled meeting. Do we have any amendments, or do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
We have a motion to approve in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All to oppose? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. All right, our first appeal tonight is Appeal 2602 for 1070 Lincoln Court. Andrew is presenting.
Thank you. Eric, excuse me, should we say something about not having a full board?
I mentioned that it requires 4 votes, and we have
Okay.
typically a full board is 7. We have 6 people, so you need 4 out of 6. The one thing I did not mention is people that are on Zoom, I believe there's at least 2 people that want to speak. So when it's time to speak on behalf of public comments, if you'd like to use the raise hand feature on Zoom, one of us will catch that. We will unmute you and then, or ask you to unmute one of the 2. And then if you wouldn't mind saying your name, your address, where you're Zooming from, and then you can tell us your thoughts about the appeal you want to comment on. So again, the raised hand feature on Zoom in order to alert us that you'd like to comment. Thank you. Sorry, Andrew, go ahead.
Andrew Erickson here to present appeal number 26-02. The owner of the property known as 1070 Lincoln Court requests the following variances to construct a new home. Chapter 126, Article 2, Section 2.10 16.2 of the zoning ordinance requires a minimum rear yard setback of 30 feet. The proposed is 16.71 feet, therefore a variance of 13.29 feet is being requested. Chapter 126, Article 2, Section 2.10.2 of the zoning ordinance requires a minimum combined front and rear yard setback of 55 feet. The proposed is 41 feet, therefore a variance of 14 feet is being requested. So, in the rear yard, this is the 16.21 feet for the rear yard setback, which is requiring the variance of 13.29 feet. And then if the combined front and rear is giving us the 41 feet, requesting the variance of 14 feet for the front and rear. 25.20 feet in the front, I'm sorry.
So Andrew, based on those required setbacks, what's the maximum depth home that can fit on the lot? And would not require a variance approximately?
Like, it would be a 12 feet.
12, yeah, I see like 13 in one dimension. Obviously, there's another dimension that's likely 11, depending, because there's an offset. So approximately 13 feet. Any other questions for Andrew? Tamai?
I noticed that, we have a kind of a small, unusual lot here, but is the proposed construction within the lot coverage?
Yes, it's within the, in fact, they're less than the 30.
So they are less than the maximum lot coverage would
Correct.
require?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
Right, there's no other variance being requested but these setbacks.
just those two.
Right. Mr. Kono?
Yeah, so I have two questions. First, is there a minimum width of a house by code?
Width or
No.
depth?
Depth?
Depth.
Well, no, there was no zoning ordinance.
I thought we had an issue on a corner lot where it has to be.
Yeah, I asked the question before the board. So there's a 25-foot minimum width we can't force someone to build less than 25 feet in width on a corner lot. There is no minimum depth where you would have a buffer as you're implying.
So the house could be 13 feet wide or
Yes.
deep?
Yes.
Okay.
We couldn't force them to necessarily build bigger just because, there is no minimum that we can't prevent them from building, correct?
Okay. The other question I had was, hypothetically, if the 16.71 feet rear setback is approved as their new lot, their new back lot line, rear setback line, would that allow them to change their plans tomorrow and come back with the house now back to the edge of the garage?
I would say that if the variances were granted, they'd be tied to the plans that are being approved tonight. So if they were going to change the plans, you'd have to come back for another variance.
Okay, so going forward, if an addition or a change was made to the house down the road, would they be approved already to say that we already have a rear setback set at this depth?
I would say no. No,
Okay.
it would not.
I didn't think so, but I just wanted to clarify that.
Please.
So, it's obviously pre-existing, non-conforming. Do you know offhand how much the current structure would be? How much of variance would the current structure need
I don't know those numbers, but it's pretty close to what's
being requested?
being requested.
So even if they were to stay within the footprint of the current home, there would still be a very similar variance request required?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Andrew, since the existing home is a similar footprint in terms of depth of the proposed home, there's been some expressed community comments about drainage and other things like that. Because it is mimicking a similar depth footprint, is that something that, obviously the city looks at it, but is that something you would think is a valid concern?
I would say drainage concerns are going to be addressed when they do the site evaluation, when that drainage plan is submitted for review.
But is there a reason why that that either area or depth of rear yard shouldn't be able to or couldn't be able to be
No, I
graded
don't, I
to
don't
achieve
see why it wouldn't
proper
be able to
drainage.
drain properly.
Very good, Mr. Kona?
I missed this before. The house and the adjoining lot, it says existing house under construction, and this shows the house even further back to the property, rear property line than this house is. Are they making up the combined in the front, or is that not accurate representation?
That house on in the corner of the cul-de-sac, it's an odd-shaped lot, so the front is actually, that's the side yard that you're looking at there.
Yeah, I mean, all I had was the Google image to look at of the old house. I guess this was torn down and rebuilt. So, but the lots seem similar, except the front was a little deeper. So they didn't need a variance for what they did?
No.
Okay. And the other question, to your point, Mr. Reddy, from what I gather from the drawing, the pre-existing house is 2 feet shallower in the back than the currently proposed house. So if you look at this, it's almost 2 feet shallower, and then the new house is going to be in line with the average of the street, which is another foot further towards the street. So they're gaining 3 feet in width of the house.
Okay.
So they're creating, the existing non-conforming is 2 feet closer, and they're making what would have been the non-conforming even worse.
That's what I was driving at. Thank you.
Yeah, and then the garage is 2 feet beyond that.
Any other questions for Andrew?
Yes,
Oh, I'm sorry. Please, Mr. Hurt.
thank you. Mr. Erickson, do you know what the square footage of the livable space of the prior home or the existing home was?
I do not know that. Maybe the applicant
maybe the
knows.
appellant would. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the city? Seeing none, who's speaking on behalf of this appeal?
Do I go someplace?
Yeah, you can pick a microphone, but typically the one on my left.
Hello, my name is James Sigliano, and I am the son of Salvatore and Stella Sigliano. They're the owners of 1070 Lincoln Court.
Can you tell us where you live, your address?
Sure. My address is 2308 Orchard Road, Ottawa Hills, Ohio.
Very good.
So what I'd like to do, if I could please, is walk through the letter that we had drafted up for the variance request. I had made some notes with regards to questions that the BZA had asked, and if I can answer them, I will gladly do so. And then, of course, entertain any other questions that might come up. In creating the design for the proposed home, my parents worked with the expected front and side yard setbacks, along with the requirement that an attached garage is going to sit 2 feet back from the front face of the new house. And again, that's per zoning requirements. We had worked hard to keep the proposed new home as close to the footprint of the existing house that is currently on 1070 Lincoln Court as possible. I've got a laser pointer. If I can use that for a second, that would help me out. So the existing house is defined by this line here on the certified survey. What's not shown is a detached two-car garage in this location, but I did notice that there were photos of the existing house that were made available to the BZA, and you should be able to view that on the right-hand side of the property. The proposed new house takes the detached garage and makes it a attached garage, again, maintaining the two-car volume capacity for that garage and simply attaching it to the home. The variance request, as was mentioned, we are requesting 2 variances this evening. Variance number 2 is actually built on the result of variance number 1, where variance number 1 definitely speaks to the rear yard setback. Would it be possible to zoom that in a little bit? Thank you. So we have a request for a rear yard setback variance of 16.71 to the rear face of the garage wall. And we recognize that we would need to come before the BZA in order to possibly gain approval. And there is not an intent to overbuild the property. And with regards to the garage and that 5-foot setback from the front of the house, we wanted to make sure that the garage and that 2-foot bump out here at the back end only extended up through the first floor, through the height of the garage itself. There's no construction in this area above the garage. Again, trying to be cognizant of the area and what we wanted to do there. The practical difficulty about 1070 Lincoln Court within the R3 zoning district is that the majority of the properties in R3 have their smaller dimension along the street. You could imagine a 50 by 120 city lot, and this would almost be a situation where it's flipped, where the long dimension is along the street side, Lincoln Court. That's the 90-foot dimension. And then the 68-foot depth is what is identified on the property, and it's covered up by the computer screen. But we also have on the site plan a dashed line and its dimension with regards to the 30-foot dimension here for the required rear yard setback, and that is what is identified by the red line in the hashed areas here. Variance number 2 talks about what happens when we have a combined front and rear yard setback, and the entire area bound by first variance request number 1, and then an additional 0.71 feet is identified by variance request number 2. It was already mentioned that if we were to try to follow the requirements of the R3 zoning for the property at 1070, Lincoln Court, we would only be able to consider a home that was 13 feet deep. And that is inclusive of wall construction, both exterior, interior, common spaces, hallways, and the like. And it just becomes a difficult consideration for the redevelopment of 1070 Lincoln Court. Page number 2 of the letter talks about how the setback requirements for a home in zoning district R3 work well for the site when the property is oriented with the smaller lot dimension running in line with the street and the property's depth representing the larger dimension. We had included a copy of the R3 zoning map for the BZA's use, and we can clearly see that the property at 1070 Lincoln Court is in the minority with regards to the orientation. Do you have the entire letter available to us? Mm-hmm. Can we see the zoning map real quick?
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah, there we go. So, and all we were trying to point out here is how 1070 Lincoln Court, which is in this area right here, with its long dimension along Lincoln Court, is in the minority when we think about all of the rest of the properties that are in R3, which is identified by the yellow background within the zoning map. Variance request number 2, I just want to read this because it came about as Mr. Erickson was doing his final review prior to our submitting for the variance. But the result of the variance request number 1 creates a situation for the combined rear setback where we needed to maintain 55 feet And again, 55 feet out of a piece of property that is only 68 feet deep results in that 13-foot buildable envelope without some type of variance being granted by the BZA. There were some concerns expressed by neighboring property owners, and one of the things I wanted to make sure that I had mentioned before leaving the podium is to talk very briefly about some of the design considerations for the proposed new house, trying to again, be a good neighbor for the community and for the other property owners on Lincoln Court. This begins at the bottom of page number 2. Again, I just wanted to reiterate that the existing home at 1070 Lincoln Court is also non-conforming within the current requirements of R3 zoning, and that we did try to stay within the footprint of the existing home. It does extend a little bit further back. The proposed new home, can we see the Tom Smith site plan again? Sure, thank you. Thank you. So the existing house, which is represented by this line right here, is currently under utility lines, not the lateral extensions to anyone's home, but literally pole-to-pole utility lines. And proposed new house is going to not be within or underneath that space. Just wanted to bring that up. New features associated with the house to help minimize its massing on the property is identified on page number 3. The home includes a shed roof that sheds from the front elevation to the back elevation, and the back elevation has a maximum second floor height of 7 foot 6 inches and the exterior wall, again, trying to minimize the massing on the property. The two-car garage, which encroaches the furthest distance in the property to the rear yard setback, does not extend above the height of the garage on the first floor. I made mention of that earlier. That's at the bottom of page number 3. And the two-car garage is now incorporated into the house design and not a separate structure on the property, providing greater separation and open space between 1070 Lincoln Court and the neighbor to the north, and the new construction that's proposed is also going to be increasing the distance between the proposed house at 1070 Lincoln Court and the home on East Lincoln. Notes that I had taken as the board was going through. The 13.71 was a question asked by one of the board members, what would be the allowable building within the R3 zoning, and it would be 13.71. And again, we just were struggling trying to figure out if there were any options for constructing a home for my parents based on that. We did take into consideration the lot coverage and making sure that we were not encroaching on that. The 16 proposed.
So I don't mean to interrupt you, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
the board members have an opportunity to ask you questions.
Oh, yes,
So you don't have to
yes.
address
Oh, yeah.
questions
That
you
would be
think we
fine,
have.
of
Let's
course.
focus on ones that we
Okay.
do have.
I'm first, so I,
No, not at all. I think your presentation was excellent, actually, very thorough.
But please.
Anything else beyond answering questions you think you anticipate that we're going to ask?
No, I did get a copy. Mr. Erickson had provided me a copy from the other homeowners on court, and I appreciate the opportunity to read through that and to better understand their positions. I do note, again, just from a single reading, that it appears that some of the comments addressed relate to maybe some of the situations that may have developed when another property was developed on Lincoln Court.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to address that.
Okay.
I mean, you could address it with them personally, but that isn't the intent of this meeting, and
Okay.
we'll address, they're likely in this audience, are going to come up on Zoom, so we'll
Understood.
address those individually.
Okay, all right, sure. Then I would be happy to try to answer any questions that the board might have.
Very good. Board members? None. So it sounds like drainage is a concern, And as I'm sure you're aware, you have to meet all the drainage requirements for the city regardless. Maybe some of the shedding, and I don't know whether or not this new home will direct water in a different direction if, many times when you build a new home, the city sees a better way to grade it, or, sometimes they require some kind of retention or detention basin to absorb water. So those are all things that if you get this variance, your parents get this variance, that the city will address. So that isn't really something that we cover, but you can hear that's a concern of theirs, and I'm sure that you and your parents will make sure that that's something that is part of your consideration with your builder or developer or whomever. It looks like we have no questions, which is unusual, which means you were very thorough. So we appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you.
I appreciate it.
So in the audience, anyone who is not affiliated with the appeal that would like to comment on this appeal? Anybody on Zoom?
They're pointing to me.
Oh, you're the spokesperson?
I didn't know I was, but apparently.
Come on
I have a
up.
couple of questions.
Yeah, please tell us your name, tell us where you live, and then tell us what your questions are.
My name is Linda Wells. I live at 1095 Lincoln Court, right next to 1094 Lincoln Court, which is the monstrosity that was built, is still being built right now. And what I'm struggling with a little bit, and I have copies of the drawings, the existing house compared to...
Please address me, not...
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of looking at him.
I was, because he went through it, and I...
Yeah, I'm going
and
to
I
answer
didn't
your
really
questions, but
understand.
yeah,
Okay.
you're addressing
The
me.
existing house compared to the proposed house and the difference in the measurements, it was very difficult for me
Yeah,
to
if you
follow
look
it.
real closely, he's got kind of a thin black line that represents the previous
On this drawing.
footprint on, hold on. I think it's on, Andrew, it's on
it's
this
there.
one drawing, right?
It's
Well,
there.
there's another drawing too that has site redevelopment plan that shows the existing and the, but what I struggled a little bit with was, I see the measurement that says the new house is going to be 16.7 or some feet from the lot line in the back, right?
Yeah, that's in the description of the variance,
Okay.
correct.
The part I struggle with is, how does that compare to the existing? Where's the measurement from the existing house?
So he pointed out during his presentation that he's substantially in the same spot, except for one area where he goes back a little bit. I don't know if it was 2 feet.
It looks like 2 feet on the drawing.
Yeah, so approximately, there's one area where he's 2 foot further into the rear setback, but otherwise,
That's what they say, but I went over there with the tape measure, and I measured from the back of the current house to the lot line.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it's over 20 feet. So 16
I mean,
from 20 is not 2.
I don't
That's
know
the
what
part
you're
I'm
measuring
struggling
from,
with.
but this is all based on engineering plans, and all those things will be confirmed before he's allowed to start construction regardless.
Okay.
But if he gets a variance, it's going to be based on what we talked about today, so it's not going to be based on 20 or any other dimension, it's going to be based on what he's asking for today.
Right, but from a neighborhood perspective,
Comparative, you're saying,
the house that's there
Right.
is, and they're saying it's non-conforming, and if we were to conform, we could only build a 13-foot wide house. We understand that there's a variance required. Does the variance have to be?
we haven't decided that yet, but I hear your point.
Well, but that's
Right.
what they're proposing, right? Do you approve as is, or can you say, we want the variance to be not that great, and we're going to back it to what the current
We could do
home
any of
is?
those things. We could
Okay.
say we think it's reasonable to have a variance, but we don't agree with this one, and and you can see that the board isn't leaning towards approving. Would you like to remove your request now and go back to the drawing board because maybe you're not going to get 25, you might get 21? Those are all things that could be proposed. And let me just suggest, and again, I don't know exactly, I mean, your measurements, let's say it's not perfect, but right now we're at 16.7, so call it 17, and he's saying 2 feet, that's 19. So if you measured to 20, it's whether you were off by 12 inches of where you set the rear setback or what you measured from the brick or the siding or whatever. So
Right.
it's approximately 20 is about what you're right, because he's going 2 feet deeper on one side. So if you were measuring, it's 19 to 20. That's probably accurate, based on what he submitted.
All right. And, I mean, just to make a statement, and I don't know if this is the right place to do it or not.
That's actually
but
the
fact-
intent of these statements. Yes.
The home that was on the other lot, on the map.
The corner one that's being
corner one,
built,
The
yeah.
question, and there was a question about why that one didn't require a variance?
Andrew, can you scroll to that? Because I just want to point something out too. Go ahead.
Yeah, why that one didn't require a variance is because they called the front of the house pointing down as where the
Right.
front of the house is actually
It's a
that
great
way.
point. And if you look at the
Right?
back of his home, or what we'll call the
There's space
side,
in the back.
he's actually further back on the property than the
Yes.
proposed home.
Way further back.
Way further back, right. And he didn't even need a variance.
And the neighbors are going, WTF?
Right.
How did that happen? Because, I mean, literally, you can touch the house and the fence, that's how far it is. And if that didn't require a variance, then maybe the existing setback requirements are a little too generous.
So I'm going to
I'm
say,
not the only one that says that.
I'm saying this on the public record, but I'm saying it to you. His contention is that most lots are deep and not wide. And a lot of lots in the city of Birmingham might be 68 wide and over 100 deep, and the house he's building would be fine. He would just be putting the front door on the end of the house. So he's saying, because my lot has much greater width and very little depth, is it fair that I can't build what my neighbors are building? Now, at the same time, I'd make a statement, I guess I can do that he's trying to mimic the existing footprint, but you can't really measure the existing footprint because that home is non-conforming. But his contention is, because that house was there, and because the lot is limiting, is it reasonable? Because if I don't tear down this house and just remodel it to the level I'm allowed to remodel it, you're going to have the same position as the new house, give or take 2 feet. That's his contention,
Right.
or their contention.
I got the impression that it's more than 2 feet, and I live at 1095, which is even longer and narrower, right?
Right.
So I live to the right of the monstrosity.
Right.
And we just don't want another monstrosity on the street. It's basically what it boils down to.
I mean, if it doesn't meet the zoning requirements and they don't have special circumstances, you don't have to worry about it. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else who?
And I brought a visual aid.
Thank you. You look familiar. Have you been in front of us
Sorry,
before?
my name is
No.
Cindy Rose.
Hi, Cindy.
I live at 1011 Clark, which is within the 300-foot circle, and it is actually directly behind what is now commonly known as the monstrosity. And so I brought my visual aid. I think what you guys have run up against is that
Thank you.
everybody can see what my backyard looks like
Would you
now.
stand back, because the microphone puts you on public record? They can't. Yeah, we'll pass them around.
Absolutely.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you.
And I think, yeah.
Do you want one?
Make an airplane in Constantine.
I mean, I have a picture on my phone if anybody wants me to send it there, but I was absolutely horrified, could not believe it. This is what I look at out of my back window now.
This modern stucco back out, is that stucco or stone?
And and I'm hoping to make this point so this doesn't happen again when houses are approved. Yes, that probably did technically meet Birmingham zoning, but because they were allowed to make the front yard where the driveway and garage is, and what would normally be the back is a side yard dimension, and that's what it looks like. So I have no light, I have no air. You can tell I'm
Frustrated.
very frustrated that this was allowed by, and I've been around this city a long time. I understand it's just people, but somebody didn't really look at what this meant. And I don't want this to happen again.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell how far the fence is to the house. My guess is it's probably 5 or 6 feet.
It's more like 4 feet.
Okay, let's say it's 4 feet. but yeah,
whatever
It's a
was
side yard,
allowable.
so it's treated differently.
Yep.
In this particular case, there is no dimension on this proposed home where it'll be 5 feet. from
I
anything.
absolutely understand that.
Right.
But I just want it to be noticed the next time there's a non-conforming lot and someone wants to build a non-conforming house on it.
Fair point.
Well, it was conforming, but but it was so much bigger than what was there that it was a detriment to the neighbors.
Right. We don't talk to them if it's conforming, so we will never hear about it.
So one of the reasons you're getting so much pushback today is that nobody wants to look at what I look at in my backyard. And actually, was there one left over? I'll give it to the builder.
The sign.
I actually have that lot for the monstrosity. I have that lot. It's, at one point, the house is 3.73 feet.
Yeah, we have to focus on this particular appeal, but I appreciate your
I'm
point.
just trying to show you.
No, I appreciate what you're-
I'm sort of halfway in between a complaint and items not on the agenda. I understand that.
Right. Thank you for your time.
I'm Sten Schuler. I live at 1043 Clark. We're on the contiguous west side of this house. So I'm 2 lots below Cindy. Caleb is between us. So yeah, echoing Cindy's points that we're essentially looking at a wall of buildings, right? There's no gaps between the buildings anymore. You look back, there's the colloquially known monstrosity, and now we're putting in this a house that almost stretches the entire width of the lot. And we do recognize it's a weird lot, and there's a depth restriction, right? I think you've got 13 feet to be conforming, minus the walls is 11 feet. We all get that's not a real house.
Not even a real bedroom.
Right. But I think a point I wanted to make is that all of the other dimensions are maxed out. The lot coverage allocation is within about a percentage. The height is nearly maxed out. So I would just ask the board to consider if we are to grant these setback variances, which to some extent is likely reasonable, must all the other dimensions be maxed, right? Could the house be slightly lower coverage? Could it be slightly shorter, right? It's, you know, if this is kind of a totality of circumstances equitable approach, let's think about like, if we're going to allow some variances in one direction, maybe there's some tolerances taken down in another direction, namely the lot coverage and the height.
Andrew, what's the square footage of this house? Do you remember, or do you have it in front of you?
The footprint, I believe, was right around 1,600.
And it's a two-story, right?
Two-story.
Yeah, so it's probably a 3,000 square foot house. So the question is, and again, this is going to be part of our discussion on whether or not 6 of us support or don't support and where it's
Right.
going to land. But we're not empowered to do that. What could happen is if he was turned down, that he could then go back and have a substantial change to the design and come back in and say, I compromise, I took out this to get that. I'm not saying that would be what would happen.
Sure.
But right now, it isn't in front of us, and I personally don't perceive that a 3,000 square foot house on a lot of this size is overbuilding, and he's not at maximum lot coverage. He's at a third, he's less than a third, which is what lot coverage is. So he's not, I mean, you may say he's hit the maximum.
The building coverage for a
coverage.
lot, he's within 1% or
Right,
so.
and I don't know the size of the neighboring homes, and I don't know the size of the house that backs up to the person before you. It looks like a very large home.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm not going to call it a monstrosity, but I don't know what that other home square footage is, but.
Well
three-
over 4,000.
Yeah, 3,000 square feet doesn't sound unreasonable to me when you're starting a new house in Birmingham. So it doesn't sound like he's overbuilding, he's just trying to build what anyone else could build, which is a house that's 25.
Agreed,
feet
but,
deep.
you know, again, the point is if he's getting an allowance to build larger in a direction, then maybe, should he be?
Is that a reasonable compromise?
Should
I
he
hear
be
you.
maximizing all of the other levers as well?
Right.
And again, I think there's maybe, 12 feet between the monstrosity and this house, or maybe slightly more, maybe 15 or whatever, I don't know what the measurement is, north to south. But we're looking at a strip mall, effectively, right, on the east side of all of our properties.
Right.
It's effectively a strip mall.
And if the lot were in the other direction, right, then it would be a narrow house that was 50 feet deep, which is what I think the neighbor doesn't like on her house. So the house either way in any lot in Birmingham is going to be long in one direction and short in the other. This lot just doesn't allow it to do it within the zoning.
Totally understand, and I think one of the many factors that's taken into account when these regulations are written is that there's some space between the houses, and that's for fire hazards, for drainage, for sunlight, all of that.
Cadence of the community.
Just look and
light
feel of
and
the
air,
community, et
right,
cetera.
all
And
those
again, a strip mall, I don't think is what was envisioned when the regulations were written.
I hear you.
So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, I'm Caleb Griscom. I live at 1027 Clark. So I'm the one, I'm directly behind the house. I'm probably the one most directly affected by the change because where I currently look back onto a one-story garage, it goes to a two-story house now. And admittedly, I do get some extra setback, so that's nice from where it is. But as is, I would say we have some pretty major flooding issues in my backyard. So I don't necessarily object to 1 foot further back or 2 feet further back on the first floor, right where my house is. Like I won't be able to see it. It'll be below the fence line. Like, that's not that big of a deal. But I do really care about the drainage. And I understand that that's not really an issue here today, but I just wanted to go on record for that.
Fair.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anything on Zoom, gentlemen?
I'll just.
Come on up.
I'm Julie Bergeson. I'm at 211 East Lincoln, so I'm on the same street. I'm at Clark and Lincoln, and so I can also see out our back window upstairs at this location at 1070. And just wanted, for the record, say I'm another neighbor concerned about water drainage issues. You know, all of our houses are older as well. Mine is a 1926 house. All of ours are older. It's just really changing the look and feel of the street and the neighborhood to see what you guys just saw in terms of the picture that Cindy showed you. And we just, again, don't want a situation where we have these long, you know, we have a wall behind us. It's not a good look for the city. I think Birmingham has a quaintness to it that I think we all want to continue to see. And we're concerned that even 2 feet, although it doesn't sound dramatic, this is going to change the look and feel of that street in a big way when we have a very tall house and a very long house next to another extremely long house. So, for the record, thank you, and that's it.
Thank you.
I'm Warren Block from 1085 Lincoln Court, signature of the letter that you have before you. Our concern is the drainage as well, but even so, I heard mention of a shed roof that was going back behind the house. And I don't know if there's, all that drainage is just going back into that little space back there that'll flood their yards over there. I'm not sure. We're concerned. We're on the other side of the street, on the east side of the street, where all the houses are small. And we just hate to see the road torn up anymore, but that's not our business, that's not your business. But
Right.
The last 5 years, we've suffered through 2 constructions now on this street, and they tore up the road, and it's in bad shape. And I just hope the commission will come up with some plans for addressing the road deconstruction when it comes up to the.
It's definitely a problem, and builders should be repairing and fixing, and the city should be enforcing it or taking large bonds to guarantee repairs. I hear you. It's not anything in front of us, but many of the comments from the neighbors, meaning everybody on Lincoln, some of these things are city commission things. We think the houses are too tall, or there should be consideration of the existing homes based on what the ordinance say for the new homes. Like, all those things are not anything we have any say about, but you are on public record, and you're always welcome to show up at a city commission meeting and say, these are our concerns.
Is a question I have for the builder, or perhaps you have it, is the garage going to be 1 story?
Yeah, he said that it was a single-story garage, correct? It's not a 2-story space, correct?
Will that have a traditional roof, or will that have the slant roof to the back as well?
You don't have to answer that. I mean, the plans are there, but the answer really is whether it's a hip roof or a gable roof or a shed roof. Even the word shed implies a greater amount of water. All those things are looked at by the city, and when the water, and gutters and control and detention basins and swales and drains are all something the city looks at for every build. And so how the water flows off the property, really, I've lived in an older home that was built in the 40s on North Lawn, and I had water problems. I ended up fixing it because all my grades were leaning towards my basement because there were decades of mulch that was constantly put on my property and never removed. And so my lot was built up to a point where water came towards my foundation. It wasn't because of my neighbor, it was because of the landscapers over decades of time. But make a long story short, the city will look at the engineering will be designed to keep the water either on their property and controlled or to where the water is supposed to flow. So I would like to suggest that this house should have the best water flow of the neighbors because the newer houses should be done properly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I do have another question about, there's a fire hydrant in front of this house.
Yeah, that's probably, if you'd like, just come in and talk to the building department and ask those questions, because it's not something I can answer, but it's a question you would ask the city directly.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to say, I think I want to move, because when I had a variance that I was trying to fight where I live, I was the only neighbor that showed up. And the fact that you have all these neighbors supporting each other, supporting the concept and trying to maintain the area is really amazing. And I think that, it'll be a beautiful neighborhood for these people to build for whatever they have to build and are allowed to build. Board members, we've closed public comment. What are your thoughts? Mr. Miller, sir, thank you for always being available to do that.
For 1070 Lincoln, I would move to approve, and I appreciate all the concerns, and especially the photograph of the monstrosity, and that never really came to our board. So, but given the situation of this house, it would not be practically possible to actually build a house on this lot without a variance. There's 8 houses on the court. The lots on the east side are more regular shaped, narrower in front, longer in back, very easy to build within the zoning ordinance. But the lots on the other side of the street, or this lot, is much narrower. And of all the lots on the court, this seems like this is the most problematic in terms of its configuration. It's only 68 feet deep, and the required setbacks, with the required setbacks at 55, that leaves 13 feet of buildable space within the ordinance. The house as designed will align with the adjacent homes along the west side of the street. It is 22 feet away from the monstrosity. So there probably will be more room once that, more space between that house to the north and this house once the existing garage is torn down. The footprints of the proposed garage and home, the home with the attached garage, are almost the same as the combined footprints of the existing house with its separate garage. They're just kind of put together, but the footprints are very similar. The new proposed construction does move the house out from under the power lines and provides more of a gap between the homes, between this house and the house to the south. And again, for those reasons, I would move to approve because of the special conditions applicable to this property in question. The provisions of the zoning ordinance, if they were strictly applied, would unreasonably prevent the property owner from using the property for its permitted purpose, which is to build a house. Literal enforcement, I believe, would not be an unnecessary hardship, and I don't believe we're contrary to the spirit or purpose of the ordinance or have any problem with public health, safety, or welfare. I know there's big concerns about drainage, but that's something hopefully the city can deal with. Also, the height of the house is about 22 feet. What's permissible is about 30 feet or 30-plus feet. So with the roof that they've designed, it's much lower than than is allowable. And I believe that granting the variance would do substantial justice to the property owner and in general to the public. So, for those reasons, I would move to approve and tie it to the plans as submitted.
Do we have a second? We have a
I'll second, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Do we have any discussion? Mr. Clement?
Yeah, I'm going to support this as well. I struggle with this because it's taking an existing non-conforming and making it slightly worse, but there are challenges with this lot, which is the main reason why we look at variances, is what's the challenge or what's the hardship? And between the power lines and the narrowness of the lot, to have a house much less than 25 foot deep like this or wide and a long house like this, it's a struggle to make a good functional house. And for the comments Mr. Miller has made, there are challenges, and overall it seems like it's improving the mass and the area around the house. So for that reason, I will also support this motion.
Mr. Chair.
Sir.
I would just like to point out, the issue for us is that we're bound by what's allowed in the zoning ordinances. I actually live in a 1925 farmhouse bordered on two sides by tear downs, and I'm on a shotgun lot. So I have the same issues you have. And I actually, when I moved into the house, tried to, hey, are these legal? And they are legal. And so unfortunately for us, we're just bound by what's within the zoning ordinances. But the city commission, people that you vote for, those are the ones that have the power to change these laws. So for whatever it's worth, we're just here to enforce what's in front of us.
So I'll also support the motion. I want to make a few comments. So maybe some of you heard me asking questions to the city. There is a rule that on corner lots tend to be more restrictive because they have two front setbacks. So it takes a lot and it squeezes that envelope smaller. And so the city does have an ordinance that says that even if a corner lot squeezes a home to a point where the envelope is very small, we cannot deny them a house at a minimum of 25 feet wide. Now, this home is not 25 feet wide, but it is approximately 25 feet deep. So extrapolating from that concept that the city says, even if the envelope with the ordinances require the home to be less than 25, now this is in depth, this is width on a corner lot, we will not require the person to build smaller than that. And the reason being is if you look at the plans which are, available and part of this paperwork, this home is basically one room depth. You have a great room or a family room, you have a simple staircase, you have a dining room and a kitchen on the first floor and a garage. There are no living room on the front and dining room on the back. There's no foyer really. There's a very narrow hallway connecting the garage to the rest of the home. So this is a minimally designed home to fit this lot. They are not taking advantage. They are not building something that is extraordinary. It's beautiful, but it's not extraordinary. And with that concept that how do you ask someone to build a home that can't function, and then let's say we turn it down and they don't tear this house down. You're in the same position you were before because the existing home is substantially in the same spot as the one they're going to build. So if they didn't get their variance, you would be stuck with the same drainage issues of the current home. Not to say that they're a problem, but this home does not maximize height and it's not a huge home. And they're just trying to enjoy the lot as you would want to if you wanted to remodel or build on your lot. So for that reason, I'll support the motion. Can we please call the roll I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, one more comment.
Please.
That I would not have supported the appeal if it required additional lot coverage. And here we don't have additional lot coverage. So it shouldn't exacerbate a drainage problem in terms of percolation of the lot.
Very good. Yes, please.
I just like the way it's designed. The fact that they're consolidating the garage and it's being moved, it's actually giving the neighbors more room. And the fact that it's only one story instead of two, it's also a respectful design of giving at least some view for people who are at the backyard part of it. And if you really just take away the fact that there was a separate garage and you're kind of like divvy up the rest of the square footage, you're not really adding much. And it just makes it a more consolidated plan, a more livable plan. So that's why I would support it.
Very good. We have a motion to approve. Can we please call the roll?
John Miller,
Yes.
Ron Ready,
Yes.
Victoria Policicchio,
Yes.
Kevin Hart,
Yes.
Carl Puna,
Yes.
Eric Barnett.
Yes. Congratulations, you have your variance. Yep. Our next appeal is 2607 for 504 Willets.
I got that.
Oh, Mike?
Hello, Mike Morad, Assistant Building Official here to present the case. Appeal number 26-07. The owners of the property known as 504 Willets request the following variances to construct a new home. Variance A, Chapter 126, Article 2, Section 2.08.4 of the zoning ordinance requires a maximum roof height for a pitched roof in an R2 zoning district of 28.00 feet for this property. The proposed roof height is 34.69 feet, therefore a variance of 6.69 feet is being requested. Variance B, Chapter 126, Article 2, Section 2.08.4 of the zoning ordinance requires a maximum roof height for a flat roof in an R2 zoning district of 24.00 feet for this property. The proposed roof height is 32.10 feet, therefore a variance of 8.10 feet is being requested. Variance C, Chapter 126, Article 2, Section 2.08.4 of the zoning ordinance requires a maximum eave height for the building for an R2 zoning district of 24.00 feet for this property. The proposed eave height is 28.59 feet, therefore a variance of 4.59 feet is being requested. Variance D, Chapter 126, Article 2, Section 2.08 of the zoning ordinance requires that a maximum lot coverage of 30% for this lot in residential zones. The maximum amount for this lot is 30%, or 2,371.5 square feet. The proposed is 35.1%, or 2,774.65 square feet. Therefore, a variance of 5.1%, or 403.15 square feet is being requested. The applicant is seeking variances for maximum height and maximum lot coverage to construct a new home with an attached garage. The grades on this lot slopes to the rear. Okay, so we'll show the floor plan first. This deck in the rear, that's going to come for variance D. But the best way to look at this is going to be to look at the house this way. This is the front over here to the left, and the grade in the front is up here, like any other house would be, and it slopes down to the back, like this. So the house meets the required midpoint elevation here in the front, but due to the change in elevation in the back, it doesn't. And that's where that variance A comes from. Variance B with the flat roof, that's back here. The flat roof is at this elevation here. There is a parapet, which is allowed up there. And because of the slope of the lot, that requires that variance also. And the eave height follows also for the same thing because of the variance. The lot coverage, there is a deck off the back that is level with the first floor right here. And because this deck creates a roof coming out of the back of the house, that would count as lot coverage. It is not enclosed space, it is not living space. It's the equivalent of having a roof over a porch. But this is only the deck that leads off the first floor like any other house could have off their first floor. But that is, it does count as lot coverage. So the house itself meets the lot coverage for the lot, but adding this deck in there, it requires the extra variance for the 5.1%.
Thanks, Mike. So let's start out with, if we were measuring from the front of the house so the lot is flat, except for D, would this house require a variance?
Except for D, well, if the lot were flat, D would not need a variance either because that patio would be on the ground.
Right, you wouldn't need a raised patio.
Correct.
Right. But if the lot, so that was my second one. If the lot were flat, they wouldn't require a variance. If we were measuring from the front of the house, it wouldn't require a variance, except for, okay. And then, is the post that supports the deck in the building envelope? It's just a lot coverage issue, right?
It does not extend past the rear yard setback.
Right.
So it is in the building envelope.
It's in the envelope. All right, very good. Other questions for the city? Seeing none?
I just have a question. I'm new, so I don't really.
Yeah, please, go
okay.
ahead.
So if it were not sloped, and let's just say the terrain were completely just
Right, this is a
straight,
walkout, right, so if we're flat.
then could the back part or whatever, the right side of the house right there be as tall as it is? Is that the problem?
So the issue, the answer to your question is we're measuring from the lowest grade, which is the walkout. If it wasn't a walkout or the city didn't measure from the walkout, the house would not need a variance. He wouldn't have to come in
Right.
front of us.
So in theory.
It's the lot dropping is the only reason.
Right, okay.
This right
So it
here-
makes it tall, in essence taller, even though it's
Measuring,
not
right.
actually legitimately taller, as far as like looking at it.
Yeah, we're not the only city that measures from the lowest grade.
Yeah.
And if you look at all the different requests, they're all 5 to 8 feet, which is approximately a walkout.
Okay.
If you see the hand here, that's
Thank
the
you.
midpoint. This hand right here, if you look on the screen, that's the midpoint right there. And if you carry it all the way across to the back, you see how this line lines up? That's what's causing the issue.
Okay.
You still have something to say?
Not really, but Paul Sammartino, Martini Sammartino Design Group, 920 East Long Lake, Troy. So we're designing the house for Armando. Yeah, I mean, we're blessed with a beautiful walkout site that's killing us, which are rare in Birmingham. You know, we do a lot of work in Birmingham, and this house would fit all day long on a flat lot. So, yeah, we're just, you know, we tried, we created the flat roof in the rear to kind of help mitigate the extent of the obtrusiveness of the rear of the home. But yeah, the slope's just killing us. And then the terrace, you know, it's a shame, you know, whoever lives in this home, they should be able to go out of their main floor, barbecue like everybody else can on a flat lot. And I'd probably say 99.9% of lots in Birmingham are flat. So, you know, they're being penalized and arguably couldn't go out and barbecue. They have to go in the basement to do that activity. So, yeah, so I mean, we did our best. We tried to follow every rule. We kept our lot coverage in check and everything. But, you know, once you get into the nuances of a sloping lot, that's where we're at.
So I can wrap my head around the grade change, which is out of the control of your client. I guess help me understand the concept of they could use the walkout to barbecue, right? They don't have to have a patio, but reasonable to be able to leave your first floor. I get that. Couldn't the house be smaller so that you don't have a lot coverage issue so that the deck falls within the lot coverage?
Yeah, of course it could, but again, you know, on a flat lot, which we have a hardship. We didn't create this sloping lot. On a flat lot, this wouldn't be a discussion.
Right.
So you know, and we'd even offer to have it be a terrace that rain fell through if it had to.
I wish pergolas weren't lot coverage, but they
Correct.
are. Right.
So that didn't help us. But yeah, I mean, we're just kind of following on, you know, we kept the footprint of the house in check. The terrace, which, again, arguably everyone has, ours would be at grade just like everyone else's, and it wouldn't be an issue. So,
Can you retain all the water that lands on the terrace forever?
forever? Sure, we'll put some rain cisterns up
Right.
there and we'll recycle it.
Very good. Questions for
Mr. Chair?
Oh, yeah, Mr. Hart and then Mr. Reddy.
Yes, questioning the flat roof towards the sloped back towards the north. If the pitch of the roof on the gable behind it that's further south, if that pitch were carried out over that flat roof, that profile would have been higher in calculation.
For sure, yeah. We feel
So
like
the flat roof is helping to kind of
the
minimize
massing
that.
of it, sure,
Yes.
from neighbors and whatnot, for sure.
Okay, thank you.
That's our opinion, at least, yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Reddy, sir.
My question would follow up on the chairs. I certainly understand A, B, and C because you do have an unusual lot. My concern is the deck. I mean, that is an optional thing. You have a clean blank slate here. It's obviously been a tear down. You're putting a brand-new home up. I mean, that is a concern for me just because I don't understand why you couldn't adapt, or as Mr. Morgenroth said, why you couldn't just build a smaller patio out the back. Now, I understand that's not ideal, but you're sort of constrained here. It's a brand-new, it's a blank slate for you here.
The entire deck is over, above and beyond. So if we made it half the size, and that was a discussion, we could talk about that. But to eliminate it and lose however many 400 and some square feet out of a house that everyone else gets the benefit from, because they get, God created flat lots for them. We didn't get that opportunity. So I feel like, no, we should be able to have a deck. And if we can argue it's too big, well, that's subjective, we can discuss that, but, you know, we're just kind of going the width, we want out a comfortable depth, we're well within our setbacks, it's a very deep lot.
I guess my follow-up question would be, why couldn't you just put it on back, just flat on the ground in the back?
Because
It's hard for me to tell from this drawing.
Well, when you're in your kitchen, which is, I don't have a pointer, but
I
it's
see
up
what you're
high.
saying.
I
Okay.
want to go
I see what
barbecue,
you're
I'm going to
saying.
carry
All
my,
right. No, I got
my
it.
food into the base, you know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
I got it.
Yeah. So it just
Thank
makes
you.
sense to have it connected.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Hart, please. Yeah, sorry, I was looking at those drawings.
Maybe this is a question, if you have an entry or an exit out the back of the house and you would need a staircase to go down, we'd probably need 16 risers, a foot each.
Probably.
Roughly, that staircase would also count as lot coverage. So a staircase that is probably a large profile, large area to get to, which would be a logical expectation
Connection,
for anybody
correct.
living in the house to have, if they weren't able to go out to a raised terrace like
So I
this.
think your question is, we don't show one.
No.
Correct. And if we do decide to put one in, it will be within the footprint of that. We will
Right.
carve it in.
But if you chose to put a terrace down below, you would still have to cover, that staircase would still count against your.
Yeah, it would be within whatever footprint of that 403 square
Exactly.
foot of deck. If we decide to put a stair in, it'll still be within that area.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Understand.
correct.
Thank you.
So is the overage the exact 403 square feet? Is that all terrace?
Yeah,
That's the
we're
exact
under the
size?
30% by a fraction.
By a fraction?
Yeah, correct.
I'm sorry, Mr. Cohen.
Yeah, and I don't, if you or the city could answer this, the overage from, that includes it, I guess, if the deck was half as deep, would it still?
We'd still be over.
Still be over.
At what point are you?
If you remove the deck completely, as you see it, we'd be
They're right under.
right under, like hairs under. Call it 30%, 29.9%. It's the entire deck is putting us over.
So hypothetically, if you, because I'm looking at the basement foundation plan and it's notched in, if it was notched in further, you really wouldn't gain anything because it's not the depth of the house, it's the footprint of the house.
Correct.
House has to get smaller for the deck to be included by 400 square feet.
Yeah. Thank you.
So just for the board and for those that are newer on the board, we have 4 different requests, so we could choose to, well, you know as an attorney, we could choose to approve all 4. We could choose to approve 3, so that's up to whomever makes the motion and whether that motion carries. Any other questions for the appellant?
I have a question.
Please.
Are you, according to just zoning, are you required to have an ability to exit the back of your home?
No, everything's out of the front door for egress purposes.
Is there any other location around the property that would allow like a side deck or anything along those lines that would be still within code?
As designed?
No, not as designed.
Well, I mean, of course, anything's possible, you know, if we sit and kind of scrutinize things, sure. But the logic, you know, the beauty of this lot, I think that draws everyone to it is a view. It's got this beautiful walkout. I mean, you don't see this in Birmingham. So we're trying to capitalize on a feature that doesn't exist. You know, let's let whoever lives here enjoy a beautiful backyard instead of making them go into the side, a 5-foot or 7-foot side yard to barbecue. Let's give them this beautiful backyard.
But as you can imagine, the famous zoning question is, you had a blank sheet of paper, if you wanted a 400 square foot deck, draw a house 400 square feet smaller and incorporate the deck. What's the answer to that question?
Well, I'm choosing to try to use this, I'm being penalized because I have a 10-foot fall. So I have to have a smaller house based on all my neighbors in Birmingham because I have a lot that's sloping. All the lots to the east of us are sloping, and I do believe they're all granted similar variances. So we're just trying to enjoy this property, develop this property similar to everybody else has in Birmingham. Because again, they're pretty much all flat lots.
And Mike, if they adjusted the grade, and I'm not saying it's feasible or logical, but if they adjusted the grade on one side with a retaining wall to be able to put a patio on grade, would that still be lot coverage because the retaining wall would be structure? You know what I'm saying?
They more than likely wouldn't be, with the pitch of that lot, there'd be no way to.
Yeah, it would be too extreme.
To get it on the first floor.
Right, no matter what.
Level at the first floor.
I guess I'm not looking at the other side, whether it's higher on the other side or something. All right, very good. Any other questions for the appellant? Thank you for your time, sir.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate it.
So in the audience?
We do have one on Zoom.
One on Zoom, very good. Anyone in the audience first? Please.
Good evening, board members, Chair Morganroth. My name is Scott Galloway. I am the attorney for the neighbors to the applicant. They live at 504 Willets, Celeste Herpel and Rick Stewart. My address is 916 South Main Street in Royal Oak, Michigan, Suite 100. And I'm here to speak to you about the variances because my clients want to preserve a beautiful backyard. They are very tied into the community, the neighborhood. They're married across the street. They enjoy sitting out on their back patio, looking into the Root River tributary, taking walks on the Chip Path, the Booth Trail, and enjoying the rich canopy that comes alive just about this time, and of course becomes bright and colorful in the fall. We feel that the variances, if granted, will deny them that opportunity, the very opportunity that the applicant seeks. They purchased the home with the understanding that this was a historic district, that it was near older homes, the variety and diversity of housing stock in there, and that was really part of the charm that drew them to this property. The most unique aspect of this property, though, as you know, is the topography of the land. Steep drop from the downtown area away towards west, and then also from south to north, where it drops off considerably. It's our feeling that the significant grade variations in this really make the variances requested even more problematic because our client's house is relatively low profile, and these folks are going to be looking 20 feet down into the client's property, from the rooftop terrace to the patio. It just seems very unreasonable and really grossly excessive from what the zoning ordinance contemplates. The extent of the variances can be measured in all sorts of ways, of course. Absolutely, how many feet and all that. But I think what is really striking to us is the percentages, the amount that they're asking to go over. 23% on the height of the roof, 33% more than what's allowed for the flat roof. Eave height, 19% greater, and lot coverage, 17% greater than what otherwise would be allowed. It really tries to shoehorn a very large home into a very small area. The lots, as they move west, get smaller in dimension. So my client's lot is 42 feet wide. I believe this lot is 50 feet wide, and then they get slightly bigger as they go up the hill. Also of concern to us is the fact that in an R2 district, 2 stories are the maximum. It's very hard for me to look at the back part of that house and not see 3 stories there when we look at the definitions of what a story is on page 203 of the zoning ordinance, which would seem to suggest that that back portion is a 3-story structure with this distance from the lowest point being the significant part, the part that's exposed there. On the other elevation, I think that is the east elevation, on the west elevation, it's even more pronounced. So those are concerns. The other, and so the impact of those variances, the extreme height of the building relative to my client's house, eliminates any sense of privacy that they're going to have. They're always going to be looked down upon by their neighbors. It blocks the morning sun as it comes up from the east, in that area, and it really just will destroy the serene character of the neighborhood, the uniqueness that I think Birmingham claims to value as expressed in the master plan that was recently adopted. We also have a concern with the plan to regrade the property in the front. There's a 5-foot elevation drop from the east to the west side of this lot, and it continues as you go west, that type of change in elevation. The developer, the designer, is suggesting adding 4 feet of elevation on the west side, right next to my client's property, to level out the front. With an already fairly steep hill in that area, that would seem to make the stormwater runoff problems even greater. I appreciate that that's not immediately before the board, but that's one of the things that is, expressly called out in their letter. So, as we looked at the variances being sought and different things that this board has done in the past, of course, I'm sure you're familiar that similar variances were sought for 468 Willets up the street. We think those variances can be differentiated from the applicants. They were asking for a roof height, flat roof height, and eave height. It's largely a modern building, somewhat similar to this, although I'm not sure it has is predominant pitched roof. The difference here is that the dimensional variances that were sought and granted for 468 Willets were much smaller in size, some less than a foot. None, I don't think, except for maybe the eave height exceeded, just a couple feet. Here we're looking at variances that are almost 10 feet, 8 feet, 6 and, almost 7 feet, so I misspoke a little bit there. But the lot that the 468 Willets is on is much wider. It's closer to the downtown area. I think it's more cohesive with the Central Business District area. And there was no lot coverage variance sought in that lot. So it was a much smaller footprint within that lot, and I think much less intimidating to the nearby homes. Also, it's our belief, although we don't have a topographical survey for 468, that it's much flatter at the top of the of Willets, and then gets increasingly steep as you go down. So for those reasons, we ask that this board not grant the variances and ask the owner, the designer, to come back with something that's a little bit more in keeping with that street, the historic nature of that street, and the smaller homes that are there. I think this is the very epitome of a self-created hardship, in that the plan is to scrape the lot and build something entirely new. They could have built anything, but they chose to build something or design something that requires a number of variances. That wasn't required. They came to the property. We want to preserve the neighborhood and the feel that drew my clients to this home approximately 10 years ago. But if you are so inclined to grant the variances, we ask that you work with the applicant to achieve a lesser relaxation of your standards, to provide justice not only to the applicant, but also to the neighbors who will be living with this and have a very changed circumstance should this home be built. Appreciate your consideration.
Thank you for your presentation.
I have a question.
I don't want to litigate.
No, I just wondered, which neighbor were you representing? The east or the west?
To the west, to the immediate west. And one of the things with that, down the hill. So we're down the hill. And if you look at the streetscape, it's very visible that at the top of the hill, the roof lines are all roughly match up. And then as we start going down the hill, they're very staggered. It's about a 5-foot elevation drop for every 50 feet. And then once we get to this lot, as we go west, it's about 5 feet for every 42 feet. So it becomes increasingly steep as we go west, and really enhancing the extent of the failure to comply with the zoning ordinance.
The natural topography of the land.
The natural topography of the land enhances really the intrusion upon my client's air, light, serenity.
Very good. Thanks. Appreciate it. Thank you. Anyone else on this particular appeal that would like to comment on this appeal? Yeah. Are you part of the same group?
I am,
Please, come on up.
yeah.
Just tell us your name and your address, and tell us what your thoughts are about this appeal.
My name is Celeste Herpel, and I'm here with my husband, Rick Stewart. We live at 520 Willett Street. And first of all, I just wanted to thank everybody for being here, for the residents and for the neighbors, and for what you do too, because it is a contribution, it is a commitment to the city.
Thank you.
And it's one of the things that the residents take pride in. We take pride in our city. We take pride in the uniqueness of it, the different neighborhoods, the different architecture, the historical features. And it is one of the things that drew us back to Birmingham. And the beauty of being able to look out your front window at one of the most historic streets outside of the city, named Willets, Elia Willets, established in 1818, along with Hunter. They bought 450 acres, and that's how the Willett Street became the Willett Street. The Birmingham Museum is right outside our front window. Next to it is the Hunter House. We did get married there, and I'm going to tell you that is not why we bought this house, because it was many years ago. But there is very much a charm, and there's an eclecticness to this particular street. So there were other people that I talked to. It is a very small street. There's really only 10 homes that go from the top to the bottom by the chip trail. So in terms of people coming forward to make a case about something like this, in terms of privacy, lack of sunlight, there's not a lot of us. Because out of those 10 homes, right now 4 are empty. No, actually 6 are. 2 people are out wintering in wherever they're wintering. So we really only have 4 residents on the street. That's it. So I went around and I had a petition, and I wanted to see how people felt in the area. I didn't go that far. I went further up Willets, which is to us like another neighborhood, because we only walk into the city. And I will say that there was not one single house that I went to that anybody said to me, I am not interested and I will not sign your petition. And all I was saying was, let's say no to variances that take away people's privacy, that take away the natural sunlight and the air that we should all be able to have if you purchase a house. I didn't buy a condo that had a wall on one side and only windows on the other. We purchased this house. And it is true, we are very fortunate to live there, to be able to look out our front, to be able to walk to their back deck, and there's the whole River Rouge watershed. I mean, it is beautiful. But there certainly are constraints. I mean, we're a 42.5-foot lot. The good thing is, everybody there has been so friendly and respectful. And one of the things when I say respectful is to talk about the architecture that was on the street. In terms of privacy, most of the homes are stepped back. You may have something larger in the front, but as you move to the back, it's lower. And that affords the people the privacy to be in their own yards because they are such small yards. So I know there's some other people I talked to, and one of the things when I went around and talked to people, I realized I am not good at getting names because I end up talking to everybody for 10 or 15 minutes. And I do have a lot of names that people said that they would.
I mean, to be honest with you, you can't really reflect on what other people said, not to say that this is a court and it's hearsay, any of those things. You really just have to give us your personal comments about why you object to these particular variances, if you wouldn't mind.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I object first and foremost for the lack of privacy. The home in question is talking about a rear deck that sits almost 30 or even 35 feet above our house. As Scott indicated earlier, we are at least 5 feet below that particular lot line, which we're only 4 or 5 feet from. So there's somebody 30 or 35 feet above us. I don't even know if I went to the back of my deck and looked straight up if I could actually see the top. But they sure could see us.
So let me answer that one real quickly, because we have another appeal that we have. So the request is not that he can build or can't build the deck. The issue is that the house is maximum size of lot coverage, so the deck exceeds that. Let me just finish, please. So if he did reduce the house by 400 square feet and built the deck, if he didn't get his variance, the deck would be in the same position overlooking your property, and he wouldn't need a variance for that.
Okay, my understanding, Eric, is that there's also a rooftop deck up on the top roof by the balustrade, and that's what I'm referring to.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were referring to the deck that is part of the variances.
No, it's a rooftop terrace.
And you realize that we're only here to talk about the variances, and all the things you're pointing out, which are not unreasonable, are only questions that the city commission can address by changing the zoning or changing the ordinances the way they're currently written.
Well, I do understand that, but if the variances that they're requesting for the increase in the height of the buildings were not as high, or were not granted, and were more in keeping with what is currently going on, we wouldn't be looking at a 30-foot high terrace, rooftop terrace next to us. Also, there's a lack of sunlight and the lack of air. It's totally on the east side of us. We're already, down smaller. It's totally out of scale to where we are.
I appreciate that.
And then the other thing that I look at, obviously stormwater, but then when I look at the tenets of the Birmingham zoning ordinance, the granting of the variances will be contrary to the public health, safety, and welfare, and the granting of the variance will result in substantial justice to the owners of property in the area and the general public. Well, I think that refers to myself and our neighbors.
Yes.
And I would say if the current building code requirements cannot be met, then I would say the proposed structure needs to be smaller and scaled down. And just like some of the other people said, be a good neighbor, be respectful.
So, and again, I don't want to address everything you mentioned, but I think the important piece I want to address is the only way to build a home on this lot that would not require a variance would be to be forced to build a ranch. Because a ranch would be a single-story home, so no colonial, no two-story that everybody else in the city is able to build, because the city measures from the walkout. So the walkout's the basement. The fact is, his basement would be underground if not for the fact of the topography of the lot. So what you're basically saying is, I live in a two-story, you might live in a two-story, they don't have a right to build on a two-story because they have a walkout.
That's
That would
not
be
what
the
I'm
only
saying.
way, but that would be the only way around needing a variance for height. There's no smaller house that would allow
If it
for
was set
it.
further back, then the variance wouldn't be as extreme for the back of the lot, for the flat roof.
I mean, if they just built at the flat part of the front of the lot only?
No, if the back of the house did not extend as far back where it's sloping down, then the variance for the height would not be as great. That's what I'm saying.
Right, but the degree of, so the first question I asked at the beginning of this, and, was if the lot were flat, would they need a variance? No. If we were measuring from the front of the lot, would they need a variance? No. So it means that if they built in the flat area, they would still be able to build this exact height with that flat roof overlooking your property without needing a variance. It has nothing to do with where it sits on the lot. It has to do with the fact that it's a walkout and the lot is sloping, which is something they can't control. Unless they put retaining walls in, and then you're looking up at 8-foot walls overbearing your property, which the code doesn't allow for them to do either. So they're stuck with either building a ranch, which would be fair or not fair, depending on your opinion, or this home. But there is no smaller version that would be necessarily less height, because they are not maxing out the height. It's the walkout that's maxing out the height. The house, the way it sits on the flat part of the lot, meets all the height requirements. So there is no scenario that's smaller or moving into a different part of the lot that would change this topography, or that would change what they're proposing.
Well,
I don't know if that's positive or negative for you, but that's just the reality.
it's not really my area of expertise, so I would defer to you and I would
Right.
defer to my attorney.
And again, I'm not here to debate what they're, these are
I'm not
comments,
here
right?
either.
But, the fact that it's a 3-story from the back is simply that the basement walls are exposed because the land falls. If the land were flat, those windows in the back would just be the basement walls underground. So it's the nature of the lot that requires the variance for at least the first 3 or 4, or whatever ones don't cover the lot coverage. It is the nature of the lot, not the nature of the design.
All right,
Thank you, though.
thank you.
Can I say something?
No, we're good, very good.
Mr. Chair, could I ask
Yes.
a question?
Yeah.
So one of the things that you said was not clear to me during either one of the presentations, and I was just going to ask the city, is what the chairman said, is that accurate, that no other house could be built there other than a ranch if a variance was not granted? Because that wasn't clear to me during the presentations.
Is there a height they could build when you're measuring 8 feet off the walkout that could be 2 stories?
I don't know what two-story home you could build on there, because of the flat roof actually would be a lower requirement.
Lowers the eve, right?
Yeah, actually, flat roof has a 24-foot requirement. so-
Right. I mean, I'm not saying there isn't some creative, crazy design, but this is a common thing in every city. If they measure from the walkout and there's topography on the lot, you're technically saying a 2-story home doesn't work. And that's not what our city wants to say, and we aren't seeking out solely ranches. Now, if you built a ranch on this lot, it would be beautiful, and it would still be 2 stories from the back. But you're allowed to build a colonial on your property. It's simply that the topography, because the city doesn't choose to measure, not penalizing a buyer for the topography, that forces this variance. No, again, if you're going to litigate this, it has nothing to do with us. This is just your opinions that we want to take into consideration because your opinions are important. But we're simply making a decision based on the ordinance, the practical difficulty, the topography, and the criteria of the lot. Although we are listening to everything you're saying, we basically have rules by which we have to make these decisions. It's the court that decides if you disagree with our decision.
Well, we understand that. Can you just address the 3-story?
No, it's not relevant. Right now, the house is 3 stories. I agree with you. It's 3 stories because it's on a walkout. But it's not a 3-story home in that from the front grade up, they're building a 2-story home. There are rules about 3-story homes in Birmingham. They would require other variances if they tried to build a 3-story home in Birmingham. We don't allow 3 stories. There's dormers. There's how much area. There's staircases. Again, I might be broad stroking it, but if this were considered a 3-story home in the city of Birmingham, they would be required to ask for other variances. There are no other variances in front of us except for height and lot coverage because of the deck. Please.
The original home has been torn down,
No.
and it is a 2-story home.
On a walkout, so it's 3 stories from the back.
So,
No?
so the
Yeah.
current home would not conform to our current. So if you just.
Yeah, that's the basement too, right?
Much smaller home.
Yeah, it's a smaller home, right, I'm sure.
2,100 or 2,200 square feet.
I'm talking about just height though, because that seems to be.
Yeah, the ordinance may have been
issue.
different then.
Of course, but
But-
my question is that how much taller is this house compared to the existing 2-story home?
It isn't relevant to what is in front of us, which is, what is the maximum height?
Yeah.
Do they achieve it? No, they don't. Is it because of it's because of the design or the size or the way it was drawn? Or is it because of the topography? And that's what we're here to make a decision about. And if it's because of the topography and they aren't in control of the topography, is that self-created? Because from the front, if we were measuring from the street, they don't need a variance. They need a variance because we are measuring from the back.
Got it, thank you.
No. Did we close public? Did I say close public comment?
But we still have 2 people on.
Oh, okay, no, please come on up, sorry. Say your name, address, and tell us your thoughts. And to everybody on Zoom, thank you for your patience. No, don't apologize.
I live on 735 Willets. And the thing is, the existing house, the way we build houses today, houses back in the day maybe had 7, 8-foot ceilings. Now everybody has 10-foot ceilings, whatever. Because you're actually asking for a variance in the front of the house too, with the peak. So the other thing taking into consideration is, are the floors 7-foot or 8 or 9 or 10-foot ceilings? And the front of the house could be, like you said, 2 stories. Maybe the back, because of being a walkout, they could make that adjustment.
So you're correct, that the height, overall floor plate on each floor has an impact on overall height.
Right.
That's why our first question as a board was, if we measured the house from the front only, or the lot were flat, would they require a variance? And the answer was no. So if they were building on a lot that wasn't Willits, was in the same zoning district, the heights are not extreme. They are actually below what's allowed in the city. It's only because of the walkout, which is something we confirmed in our questions, that they need a height variation. So from the front, if they were measuring, they don't need a variance, they wouldn't be in front of us, they wouldn't need any permission.
Isn't that peak, though?
That peak,
Front?
We're not looking at the front, that's the rear.
yeah, that's the back.
Oh, okay.
But again, if
Now I
that
see.
peak is not what's doing it, a walkout is typically 9 feet tall, right? Those door walls in the basement are probably 8 feet, which means there's another foot or two. It's probably a 10-foot basement. Their greatest variance is 8. So they aren't even asking for the current height of the basement. The house is lower than what's required if you took away the basement. And the basement they have to have. You can't float it in the air.
No, I get that.
Any other comments?
It just, there's no way to work with, almost like, what do they call the houses where, you go down.
Tri-level,
Yeah, like
bi-level,
a tri-level,
right.
yeah. No.
No, not unless they were forced to build a single-story home on the back. Wouldn't change how they overlook your property, but they could still have a terrace on the top, and they could still potentially have a deck if they didn't exceed lot coverage or they don't get a variance. I gotta make sure I cover everything I'm saying here. We have 2 more people, though. Any other comments from you?
No, I'm just, now, because I'd never seen this plan before.
Right.
I just saw the dimensional changes.
Right. Do you see the image above the walkout? So the image above is the side view.
Yeah.
So you can see until the lot starts dropping, that's a normal height, that's perfectly allowed, and they don't need a variance to do anything you can see there. It's only as the lot drops, which is the nature of the property they can't control, that it's exceeding height because it's a walkout. And they are not the first person on Willits or an adjacent job that came in because they're forced to build on a walkout, but the measurements are unfair because of the walkout. That's his contention.
They might be unfair to maximizing.
But that isn't in front of
property
us.
value. I get that.
Yeah, that is in front of us. We can't make a decision if it's too big or too tall, or like the previous appeal said monstrosity, that's not in front of us.
When you.
Again, not in front of us. Property values, even though I do that for a living, I think would increase your property value, but that's a subjective thing, but that is not in front of us. So it's not a decision we can address.
Money.
This is simply, no, nothing to do with money. This has to do with what does the city require? Why aren't they building to what the city requires? Or is there something that is out of their control that prevents them from building what they want within the ordinance? And they come in front of us and say, we would like consideration. So they're asking for consideration.
But you and I know, there's nothing that is out of control where they couldn't size that down. It's within our control to do whatever. It's just what we choose.
The city commission is in control of those things, correct?
Exactly. So, because I've lived here for over 16 years, and I'm like, where this is going? If it's all about money, you're right, it's going in the right direction. It'll increase my property value. But there's something to be said for beauty, aesthetics, the place we live. And this is the antithesis of all of that. And it's happening all over the place.
I think it's important for everybody in the city to have their opinion and express how they feel about it. And I think I haven't stared at the whole house, but it's not atypical of what is being built, and it's not atypical for what's being built based on land value. You can't buy a lot for $1.5 million or $975 and build a $700,000 house on it.
It is atypical in the area we're at.
Right.
But the more you guys approve these things, the more they're going to become typical. I can't stop it.
Right.
But I can tell you, it's debasing the beauty of where we live. And if it was all about money, you know what? It's a sad world.
Right.
It's all about money.
I appreciate you saying that, and
Yeah.
it's all on public record, so thank you for giving us your opinion. So we have 2 on Zoom, I believe.
I'm going to bring him in.
Please. One at a time, please.
Yes.
I might be in the wrong scheme to see it. Hi, did you want to comment on this particular appeal? If you could tell us your name, your address, and your comments about this appeal, that would be great.
Yes, Michael Porras, 587 Greenwood Street. I actually worked on the house just west of this. I did the renovations to it 20 years ago. And I'm concerned about a few things on this house and just in general. I'm not sure, I'm curious about the grading and where these heights are measured from. It's not clear to me and I didn't really study it in depth, but the section, the lowest part of this is questionable. And I wonder if that is the new grade or the existing grade. The site not only slopes front to back, but also east to west. And I think somebody mentioned it goes 5 feet down. My understanding is they want to build a retaining wall that sounds like 4 feet in the front. It's not clear to me how large that retaining wall would be in the back, and then where that grade of that lower level is being measured from. Is it from on top of that 7-foot retaining wall up, in which case, you now have a 3-story house on top of, almost another floor. So there's a few, so that's one big question. And then, so as far as the height, there's a height limit to a flat roof.
Yeah, that's all part of the variance request, right? Height and eave are both part of their variance request.
Right, and there's a reason for that height limit, and it's to give light and air to the neighbor. In this case, it's made worse because they're already 5 feet higher. So that height is now, instead of that 20, and it's changed, I don't remember, it's 24 or 20, I think it's 20, I don't remember, it's changed so many times. The flat roof and eave height are going to be even higher here, and which, so basically they'll be just looking at a wall, which I don't think is right. And then the setback, if you look at the homes west of this, they both have back porches. The house of the neighbor has a back porch. That was done within the lot coverage. So to give a variance so this can be built further back, there's no hardship that says they have to have an additional porch. So they could easily do the porch within the lot coverage, so I don't necessarily think there should be a variance for lot coverage, especially given the towering over. But I am very concerned with the height. So again, if you could clarify where the height is measured from, whether it's a new grade or existing grade, I think that would be helpful.
I mean, it's a question you could probably go in front of the city, because we're just listening to your comments to take them into consideration. And obviously, I know you're an architect, and I appreciate your perspective. If there are retaining walls, which I haven't stared at that piece of the component, those are all, if there was a variance required for any retaining or changes of grade, and it wasn't allowed, it would be in front of us tonight, which it isn't. There's only eave height and overall height. And Michael, because the city acknowledged that the property would not require a variance if the lot were flat, or if they were measuring from the front of the home, that would confirm that the 5 feet you're proposing is not creating a height that exceeds what's allowed in the city. Because if the lot were flat, it meets all the requirements for maximum height and eave height, right?
Well, the lot is not flat.
No, it is not.
And if you go west, both houses going west step down. So they are 2 stories from the rear. It's a 1-story.
It's a ranch with a walkout, so it's a 2-story home.
So it's 3. And so my point is, they both set back, and they were both added onto. So, and I don't know if the zoning's changed since that was done, because it was quite a while ago, but anyway, it feels out of place to me. So I'm not really in favor of all the variances.
Very good.
I think they can build within the footprint, within the requirements.
Thank you for your feedback, sir.
He's on.
Hi, would you like to speak on? Hi, just tell us your name, please, your address, and where you're zooming from, and tell us your thoughts about this appeal.
My name is Allison Orland. My address is 456 Warren Court. I'm zooming from my house in Birmingham, so I'm located essentially behind and a little bit over from this proposed house. It looks like there's a couple of different variances on the table for you guys to consider. And I heard the applicant present this and the grading of the property as a hardship, trying to equate it to other lots in Birmingham. And this is definitely not a hardship, because this is unique in several ways. One, part of the value is that it is on the Rouge River on a ravine. And part of the other unique nature is, because of that, there's actually houses, my house included, and my neighbors, that are behind and below this house. So that one, the lot and the grading actually adds the value. That's the beauty of the lot. So it seems like they are kind of creating this problem themselves by trying to build a house that just is a little bit too big for the area. So that's number one. I have a couple other concerns besides sort of the self-creation piece of this and the unique lot structure. One is drainage, because unlike maybe other lots in Birmingham, there are houses literally below, so drainage is a big concern. The coverage that this house would have on my neighbor's house, but also my house, is even greater, because we're sort of beneath it in a way. This would block a lot of my winter sunlight, because the way the sun goes over there in the winter. And then finally, what I don't know is considered at all is erosion. And our engineers for my house said that, these properties along this Rouge River area are some of the most unstable land. And I can see it. And so when you add a structure that is larger than what has existed, and really probably what it should be, you are increasing perhaps problems, and I don't know what type of requirements they have to fit or engineering for, again, the house below it, and erosion that might then occur behind this house on again, the ravine that goes down to the Rouge River. So I have several concerns around the size, the drainage, erosion, even my house where it's located, the sun and the impact of that in the winter when obviously there's very little sun. And then just the unique nature of the lot is really the asset of the lot. It is not the hardship that should require a variance in this case.
I appreciate your comments. I don't know if you're hearing that the hardship is a negative connotation towards the property. I think it's the opposite. I think accomplishing or having a walkout in the city of Birmingham is super unique. Walk-ups are not easily found. They're beautiful. You get a basement with windows. You get more function on all 3 floors. So, I mean, I think it's a beautiful addition. I think the hardship comment was the city is measuring the home height from the natural drop on the property. And so the hardship is because the lot is dropping, I wouldn't be able to achieve the height limitation with a normal 2-story home, even though I know that you don't agree this is normal. That's the hardship on design, not the hardship as a negative connotation. The Willits is one of the most beautiful streets in the city, and your street below it is beautiful also. And being below another home and how it impacts you for light and air and your enjoyment of your property is a separate topic that we can't address. But I think they're all valid concerns. And then the erosion and the water, go into the city, talk to the gentlemen that are here right now, everything that this home will require to be developed, and make sure that water doesn't impact your home and the homes around it is the responsibility of the engineers that design the home and the city to enforce the proper flow of water based on the grading that's required to build the house. So not something that's in front of us, but they're all valid comments, just not necessarily what we're looking at today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we do have an additional one on Zoom.
There's another one?
Yes, one
All
more
right, let's
popped
go.
up. Okay, he's on. Okay.
Yes, hi, everybody. My name is John Stein. I live at 412 Willits. So we live at the top of the hill. And I have lived with my family here on Willits Street for about 16 years at this point. And I think our perspective on call it zoning ordinances in general is kind of, it's relevant to this discussion that we've actually been denied a variance for a very small addition that we had planned to build for a first-story master bedroom on our house here at 412. And the addition was less than 500 square feet. The variance we requested was actually a 5-foot side yard allowance that was turned down. I think that we had a legitimate case for a hardship and that we have 19th century stairs in our home that I think will become difficult to navigate as we age, but we'll deal with it. We accepted being turned down. I've been on the deck at 504 several times with the previous owner, Otto Soding, and his wife, Erica, who used to live in this house. And for reference on the drawings, their deck currently is about where the very large middle window is in the current house. So one of the unique features of their lot is that it is quite beautiful. You know, it slopes down to the Rouge, and you get a lot of wildlife. The house, as it's envisioned, will probably substantially diminish the amount of usable yard and view that's available on that property. And I realize that that's not, that's not my concern, right? Is it legal or not? And it sounds like it would be legal if it's granted the variances, so great. I think that there is a substantial argument that if any property needs 4 variances to be built, it may not be sized correctly for the lot that's available. Again, that's your decision as the commission, and so I can't comment on that. But what I can comment on is the practical effect of the home that was built at 468 Willits just recently, and it did receive several variances for its own height, and is now creating a new hardship for us and for my neighbors, because it towers over everything else on the street. And several people have commented that, Willits as a street with historic homes, many of them are small, they're quaint, they're charming. The new house that was constructed at 468 by Hunter Roberts is really, really big. And as a result, it looks into my bedroom on my second story from 3 houses away. And it towers over the 2 neighbors who are between me and 468. And so with regard to what is going to be built at 504, I would say to the builder, who's been our neighbor now for several months, nice to have him on the street and his family, to his partners who are building the home with them, build something. Otto's house was very small. It's a 2-bedroom house. It actually has a walkout basement, beautiful deck. They did fit 2 stories on that lot in a way that perhaps would not be allowed under the current ordinance. Build something appropriate to the scope of the street the character of the homes that are here, and we would welcome that. You know, build something that's sized for what is here. Don't build something that maxes out the square footage purely for financial reasons. This was not $1.5 million lot, by the way. I think Otto's lot sold for about $825,000. So realistically, you can build something on this lot that would fit the character of what's there, would be a complement to the other homes, would not create hardships for Celeste or the other neighbors, and would be welcomed. And I think we would really enjoy it, and you would contribute to the streetscape that's here. Realistically, I realize that, you know, the commission has to look at what they view is appropriate. I think, as Scott Galloway put it, if this is a self-created hardship, it might be good to take it back to the drawing board and build something that really suits the character of a very beautiful street with, you know, neighbors who really like to live on it. So that's my comment, and I appreciate the time. Thanks, everybody.
Well, we really appreciate your comments about the area, the community, and your expectations for what you'd like to see for the future on that street. Good? Anybody else in the audience that'd like to comment before we close public comment? See, oh.
I'm Susan Martin, I'll make it quick because it's all been said, but I live across the street. I look at these houses.
Address?
487 Willits.
Thank you.
So I was the caretaker home to the Birmingham Museum, my house was. And I don't want to get into all this with all of you, but I had strict restrictions with the Historic Society when I wanted to do anything.
Even more strict, yes.
And so when we talk about the character of the street, I guess nobody on the other side of the street has any of that anymore? How does only my house fit under?
I don't know the rules and requirements for what's considered historic and what isn't.
All right, well, I guess I'll have to figure it out. They used
I had a
to
house
have
in
plaques
1942
on these
that was torn
houses
down.
that said they were historic, but apparently they're not. So none of this had to pass any historic.
It wouldn't come in front of us, but if it did, they've already been through it, but I don't believe it had to, no.
Okay, but I made a reservation like 5 years ago, and I had to jump through a million hoops.
Yeah, there are a lot of homes in downtown Birmingham. I had a friend on Townsend that had window themes and brick colors and trim and
Right.
historic details. That
Right.
doesn't apply to this property.
But the point is, there is this charm to this street too, which would be on my side of the street now, and the other side kind of matched it, and now it's not at all. And I appreciate all the new building, I really do, and I think, and they're very nice people, and I get that if you stay within the ordinances, they can do whatever they want, and that's fine with me. But it's the size and the scope and the number of things they're asking to do. It is changing the street, and, you know, that's even setting aside all the concerns they have about the views and stuff, because that doesn't really affect me at all, but the drainage and the views and to me, it's just, I think it was the people before that were talking about how they're looking at a strip mall now. That's kind of how I feel like Willits is becoming, and I think size has a part of it. You know, it's not just the architecture. I mean, that looks pretty. It's the size. And 4 variances, I'm sorry, but when you buy a piece of property, just like when I bought my house and I knew it was a historic home, I paid a certain price and I knew I had to go to a certain board and that I could be denied things. They paid a certain price for this little house on this little lot, and they, you know, now they're claiming a hardship for, you know, it's, 4 variances is a lot. Really, for me, it's just the size of it all.
Right. I hear what you're saying, absolutely. Thank you for your comments. I'm going to close public comment so we can move to deliberation and/or a motion.
Mr. Chair?
Sir.
I'd like to make a motion. With regards to Appeal 2607, the property known as 504 Willits, I would move to deny. My reasoning here is, though I understand the property slopes, I do not think there are enough special conditions in this particular case to warrant the granting of 4 what I consider significant variances. I do believe that a home could be built on this property that would either require smaller variances or could in fact be built to code. Therefore, I do not think that literal enforcement of the chapter would result in unnecessary hardship. I do think in this case, such large variances would be in contrary to the spirit and purpose of the zoning ordinance. I also do think that granting of a variance would result in substantial injustice to the property owners simply because this home is going to be very large. Based on what I see with these significant variance requests, when in fact I think a home could be built on this lot that would be better suited to the building envelope that it currently exists on. I understand it's a sloping lot. I don't think that's enough of a special condition in this case to grant variance for any of the requested variances.
So we have a denial for A through D. Do we have a second?
I second the motion, and I second that as well.
Okay.
And while I'm not familiar with all of the zoning ordinances, I am very familiar with the master plan as having volunteered for the city of Birmingham for the last 14 years of my life. And retaining neighborhood quality and retaining housing character is incredibly important in following today's trends in the housing market. I think that we're just trying to, there's just such an exaggeration of size of houses, and this is not a hardship that someone didn't already know about when they bought the lot. This is not something that you own this house, you lived here for a long time, and now you needed something for some reason that was that it matched like the quality of the neighborhood. This is something I bought this lot, I'm going to tear it down and I'm going to build something that is not going to retain the character of a very historic area. And I just think that there's a way to do it that maybe it wouldn't be so imposing on the neighborhood surrounding areas. And there's a reason why our ordinances allow a certain amount of height, and I understand that there's a slope. But does that mean that you get to build a much taller home, a much bigger home, and thwart the character of the neighborhood? I don't think so.
So we have a motion to deny, and we have a second. Do we have any comments? Sir?
I can't support most of the motion.
Well, just focus on, this is a full denial, if you could, please, on this particular motion only.
Yes, well,
Okay.
yeah, I understand the concerns, but I do not support the full motion as stated.
Very good. Any other comments? I also can't support the motion. I do think there are aspects of this appeal that I can't support, but as I've tried to identify at the beginning, the house that they are building meets all the height requirements on this property except for the walkout. If you put it on another lot on the same street that wasn't a walkout, it would not need a variance. It's the sloping of the lot that's out of the control of the builder and homeowner that is requiring the variances related to height solely. So this house meets all the requirements for height without the walkout. So that's one comment. We have a motion to deny. Can we please call the roll?
Ron Ready,
Yes.
Victoria Policicchio,
Yes.
Kevin Hart,
No.
Carl Connor,
No.
John Miller,
No.
Eric Morgenroth.
No. So that motion fails. We need a new motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Sir.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the motion regarding the property located at 504 Willett Street, case number 2607. I would like to make a motion to approve the variance requests A, B, and C. I think that the appellant has done a very good job of stating his case for the difficulties of the property. I think that some of the features that are required for the street, I know this is a beautiful street, and there are some beautiful homes on that street that need to have a certain level of quality for a new home. I think, making a building that conforms to all these height restrictions would actually create a much less desirable structure, in my opinion. And I think that the conditions on the site with the exception of the lot coverage, I think are pretty well pronounced with a 10-foot drop. The conditions are, the conditions to drain this site should be relatively simple, I think, with the slope site. I think with the city engineers who do a very good job of making sure that these new structures are properly engineered, I think that can be accomplished. As I mentioned, this property or the house, the proposed house, is actually in the fabric of the neighborhood. It's not that there are some houses that are actually further north than this house. In fact, there are several that are actually encroaching further to the north than this house. And I think that this is a very I think it's a very carefully designed home. I don't think it's contrary to the purpose of the zoning ordinance, the purpose or the spirit of the ordinance. And I think that approving it, these A, B, and C variance requests will result in substantial justice for the neighborhood and for the owners. And I would tie it to the plans and drawings that were provided.
We have a motion to approve A, B, and C. We have a second from Mr. Kona. Any discussion? I will support the motion. Clearly, the board is not sure about exceeding lot coverage, but the nature of the home that has been designed for the property that meets all the zoning requirements for height and not the square footage is an issue, but everything else. And if not for the natural topography of the lot, this home would not require a variance, is the essence of not being self-created. So for that reason, I support the motion. Can we please call the motion for a approve of A, B, and C only?
Kevin Hart,
Yes.
Carl Kona,
Yes.
John Miller,
Yes.
Eric Morgenroth,
Yes.
Ron Ready,
No.
Victoria Policicchio.
No.
Congratulations, you have your variance on A, B, and C. And now we need a motion on D. Sir.
Regarding case 2607-504 Willits, regarding section D over the lot coverage, I make a proposal to deny that portion of the appeal that to me is appearing as a self-created issue and not having to do with the lot itself. And for that reason, I wish to deny that portion of the variance.
We have a motion to deny for D only. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Very good. We have Mr. Ready for the second. Any discussion? Mr. Miller.
Yeah, I will support the motion, and even though, the deck would be really nice, you could understand the reason for it, and if it was on flat land, it would be a patio and be allowed. But since we're not dealing with an addition to an existing old home, this is a blank site, all new construction. I don't see why a new home that's completely newly redesigned can't remain within the lot coverage as required by the zoning ordinance.
I too will support the motion. Clearly, as many of the people in the audience have mentioned, the house is a nice size home. It's a large home. It fits within the lot coverage, so nothing wrong with that. But considering that a deck could be built with a smaller home or within the lot coverage that's allowed, or use the walkout and a patio as any other, egress, and a patio at egress, from the walkout would also suffice. So I don't see a reason why you would need a variance to build this terrace. So I'll support the motion. We have a motion to deny D. Could we please call the motion?
Carl Kona,
Yes.
Ron Ready,
Yes.
Kevin Hart,
Yes.
John Miller,
Yes.
Eric Morgenroth,
Yes.
Victoria Policicchio.
Yes.
So this is all tied to the plan, so if there is an attempt to incorporate a deck into this, they will have to come in front of us again for the height off of a different plan.
Can I get clarification? So if we, let's say we reduce the deck by a number, we have to do,
If you reduce the deck, you can't come in front of us because it wouldn't be a substantial change. If you redesign the house to put a smaller deck within the lot coverage, because we approved the other plan, you would need another variance for the height that you received today.
okay, I'm sorry, because I'm slow. If I take this deck off,
You're good to go.
or if I put the deck in the house somehow.
You have to come back for the variance that you got four out of six.
No, I'm within the envelope of the home.
You're tied to the plan.
It's tied to the plans you submitted,
The variances for
so the
this
next
house
plan
are-
is not approved for a height variance.
Understood.
Only this plan is.
So either the deck can come off and now have to come back?
Correct. Or you have to redesign and re-request and have the neighbors come in and tell you that they don't like it.
They don't like it. Got it. Okay.
That's their right. Thank you. We appreciate all your comments, and we understand walkouts are a challenge in our city, but they are not the fault of the buyer or the designer and builder. They're the natural topography of the land. And as you walk out, I just want to, there are people that have tried to force walkouts in the city of Birmingham. We have not allowed those variances because it was not a natural walkout, it was forced.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for the final variance or appeal. Thank you for your patience.
Take care, guys. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you. Our last and final appeal, gotta go back to the top, is 2609 for 1711 Latham.
2608.
I'm sorry, 2608. It looks like a 9 on my screen, but okay.
Andrew Erickson here to present appeal number 2608. The owner of the property known as 1711 Latham requests the following variances to rebuild an existing living room using the existing foundation.
Andrew, I just want to stop you real quickly for the record. It does say 2609 on our meeting zoning appeal minutes at the beginning, just so we can get that fixed.
Okay.
Thanks.
Variance A, Chapter 126, Article 2, Section 2.08.2 of the zoning ordinance requires a minimum rear yard setback of 30 feet. The proposed is 25.10 feet, therefore a variance of 4.90 feet is being requested. Variance B, Chapter 126, Article 2, Section 2.08.2 of the zoning ordinance requires a minimum combined front and rear yard setback of 55 feet. The proposed is 50.50 feet, therefore a variance of 4.50 feet is being requested. So what they're proposing to do is this area here, they're going to deconstruct the living room and rebuild it on the same foundation. The rear yard setback that they're requesting is here. And then the combined front and rear would be here. And
So they're using the same foundation. They're not adding or removing any of the nonconformity. They're sticking within the same existing nonconformity.
Correct.
But they are using the existing foundation.
Yes, they are.
Very good. Other questions for the city? Seeing none, who's coming to speak on behalf of your request?
Good evening, Chris Lamphere with LL Custom Contracting, 1439 East 11 Mile Road, Madison Heights. Thank you for your time this evening. I'm the builder representing Mrs. DeGraff, and who is the homeowner at 1711 Latham Road. We're requesting a 4.9-foot rear yard encroachment and a 4.5-foot reduction to the required combined front and rear yard setback, so Mrs. DeGraff can rebuild an existing sunroom within its current footprint. The existing sunroom was originally a porch that was enclosed decades ago, and it wasn't built or insulated well. Our plan is to rebuild it to improve insulation, meet current standards, and make the space safer and more functional, including removing a step that is currently a trip hazard, coming from the kitchen down into the sunroom area. The floor will be brought up to match the main level of the home, creating a smooth transition between the rooms. Raising this level will require us to increase the height of the structure slightly by approximately 8 inches in order to create that additional floor level, which will only be visible, will be the only visible difference between the current and proposed new design. The house was built in 1955 before the current zoning standards were in place. When those standards were adopted, the sunroom became an existing nonconformity, a condition that was not created by the current owner and therefore a non-self-created hardship. The sunroom is located entirely in the rear yard, and it is not visible from the street and only minimally visible from neighboring properties. We've reviewed the proposal with the immediate neighbors who have sent letters with provided support. I believe you got copies of those, but I don't know if you need those or not. But requiring full compliance would mean removing or significantly reducing a long-standing structure without providing any real benefits to the neighbors or the public. Approving this request allows the homeowner to improve the quality, safety, and efficiency while keeping everything in the same location. We believe this aligns with the spirit of the city's zoning ordinance and provides reasonable justice to the homeowner, the neighboring properties, and the city as a whole. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer questions.
I don't think we have any.
Fantastic.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
On Zoom or in the otherwise empty audience, anybody have any comments about this particular appeal?
Nobody's left.
Nobody's left. Maybe on Zoom. They all left in a hurry. Seeing there are no public comments, we'll close public comments. Board members. Mr. Reddy, sir.
With regards to Appeal 2608, property known as 1711 Latham, I would move to approve both A and B and tie them to the plans. What we have here is a pre-existing non-conforming structure. I think in this case, if the zoning ordinance was strictly applied to it, would unreasonably prevent the property owner from using the property to its permitted purpose. In other words, it's just the reconstruction of an already existing structure. I think little enforcement of the chapter would result in unnecessary hardship. I think granting the variance would not be in the contrary to the spirit or purpose of zoning ordinances. And I also think that granting of the variance would result in substantial justice to the property owner in this particular case, i.e. it is an older structure, older home. They're not doing anything that's not already in place other than rebuilding what is probably an old aging structure as pointed out by the appellant. For those reasons, I would move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. We have a second from
I would second, and I would just like to add that, yeah, here it was important that no additional encroachment was proposed. And I think it's that reasonable maintenance and upgrading of an existing home is very appropriate and should be supported. And that's why I second the motion.
I'll support the motion too, just for the audience. Typically, if you demolition or tear down a non-existing structure more than 75%, you must then abide by the new ordinance. So you can have maintenance, you can re-drywall, you can re-shingle, but because this is a full demo and rebuild off the existing foundation, it requires a variance for that purpose. Likely, if they didn't get their variance, they would likely keep that space and just do repairs and improvements over time and end up in the same position. So for that reason, I would support the variance. We have a motion to approve. Can we please call the roll?
Ron Reddy,
Yes.
John Miller,
Yes.
Eric Morganov,
Yes.
Victoria Policicchio,
Yes.
Kevin Hart,
Yes.
Carl Kona.
Yes.
Done? Did you call me already?
No, they didn't call you.
All right. I also say yes.
Eric Morganov.
Thank you. Congratulations. You had the variance at 4. It didn't really matter. Congratulations, you have your variance. In the audience or online? Any other business, Mr. Zilke?
No, we just want to welcome Victoria to the.
Yeah, so welcome, Victoria. Thank you for your contributions today. And we look forward to your law background and your other experience with the city to help make the right decisions.
Thank you.
And thank you for jumping on. You just got appointed last night.
Yep.
You're tonight, so
Here.
appreciate that.
So seeing no other business, but Victoria coming onto the board, anybody in the audience or on Zoom that would have something they would like to discuss that is not based on the current appeals today? Seeing none, can we have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to
Yep.
adjourn.
All in favor? We're adjourned.